Erev Tov B'Tayim. Two questions I want to deal with today about women, about ladies. Number one, I remember when I was in Israel, one young lady asked me a question. She said, she just got married a few years ago. So, in the family, they have a little bit of a machloket there going on. That's what she told me. What's a machloket? Who's gonna wash the dishes? You know what I mean? After they eat dinner, is it gonna be the husband or the wife? You know what I mean? So, that's the question. So she said, right, you're a rabbi, you tell me, what does halakha say? Who has to wash the dishes? The man or the woman? Who has to do it? Yeah. So the answer is very clear. If you look in the Rambam, if you look in the Gemara, Masechet Ketubot, if you look in the Shulchan Aruch, the wife has to do all the housework. Everything. Not only washing the dishes. She has to do all the housework. That's her obligation according to halakha. So, you can't tell the husband, listen, come into the kitchen, and start washing the dishes. You can't tell him that. If he wants to be nice to you, as his wife, he wants to help you, that's fine. If he wants to do it to help you, that's beautiful, it's fantastic, but he's not obligated, so you can't force him. You know what I mean? You cannot tell him, oh, you got to wash the dishes. Why? Because, they start with this, logic, like this. They say, well, I made the dinner, so you wash the dishes, 50-50, go like this, right? It doesn't work like that, in halakha. All the housework has to be done by the wife. That's the halakha. There are, according to ketubah, there are obligations according to, it's divided up, certain things. There are certain things that a man is obligated to do. There are certain things that a woman is obligated to do. For instance, it says in the ketubah that you promise your wife, I'm going to support you, I'm going to bring in the parnasah. That's the husband's job. Today the women are making good money, Baruch Hashem. But really, according to ketubah, it's a husband's job. That's one thing. On the other hand, right, the woman has to do the housework. There is a division, of responsibilities. Everybody's got their responsibilities in marriage, in Jewish marriage. So it's not like, we'll think about it, we'll decide what's the proper thing to do. What do you mean? Hashem already decided for you. I'm sorry. Don't decide nothing. You know what I mean? The truth is that I remember, in my younger days in Eretz Israel, they told me something interesting. They said, he was actually here, in Queens, when I was learning here in Yeshiva. One of the rabbis told me, right, that there was a big chacham over here who was in Queens for a long time. He was a mashgiach over here at the yeshiva, Chafetz Chaim. And then, he had a machloket with the Rosh Yeshiva. There was a machloket there. They had some kind of a feud going on, you know what I mean? So he left, he left the yeshiva, he went to Eretz Israel, and over there he opened his own yeshiva. You know what I mean? But he was a big chacham, he was a big posek, his name was Rav Sheinberg, Pinchas Sheinberg. He was from Queens, They tell me, I wasn't here at that time, but he used to walk around over here in the streets, in Forest Hills, with his tefillin and talit. He used to go with tefillin and talit, like this, everywhere. He didn't go just like a regular guy with a suit, and a hat. Tefillin, talit, everywhere he went, that's the way he was. They also say, that he used to wear 7 talitot, not 1, 7 of them. He was a special guy, a special person, whatever. He was a tzaddik. One, Baruch Hashem, I was zocheh to meet him in Yerushalayim, when I was there. I had a question, about something. So I went to ask him, because somebody recommended me to go there to ask him. So I went there, I met him. He was a very nice person, very, very sweet. But anyway, right, they say about this, Rav Sheinberg, that, what did he do? They say that after they would have dinner, him and his wife, so he would go and wash the dishes, for his wife. Rav Sheinberg, So what would he do? In order that it shouldn't be Bitul Torah, so he would have on the wall, pasted Mishnah Berurah, something from Mishnah Berurah, and he would be learning, washing the dishes and looking at the Mishnah Berurah at the same time. So when I was in yeshiva, this is what they told me. They said, "Oh, you see this big rabbi washes the dishes. You should do that too." That's what they were trying to tell me. You know what I mean? You should also. You're not bigger than him. You know what I mean? But the truth is that after I got a little bit older and learned the halachot, we saw that it's not like that. So then, why did Rav Sheinberg do this? Just because he wanted to be nice to his wife. To be kind. To his wife. That's the whole thing. Some chachamim are like that. They're very gentle to their wives. They're very nice. They like to do chesed for their wives. That's the thing. Not because he's obligated to. He didn't know. He knew everything. Believe me, he knew. But he wants to be nice. He wants to be like they say in Yiddish. He wants to be a mensch. He wants to act like a mensch. It's good. Okay, fine. It's good. But don't bring me example from there and say, you see this rabbi did it. You should do it too. No, if I don't want to. Just the opposite, right? Maran, Alba Shalom, Ravadia, he never did, they told me, he never did anything in the house. He was always learning, day and night, non-stop. Never, nothing. One time I remember, they asked his son-in-law, his name was Rabbi Aaron Abudbul. They asked him, they said, how did Maran make coffee, on Shabbat? They asked him, can you tell us how he made coffee on Shabbat? So you know what he answered them, right? He says, Maran never made coffee in his life. What are you talking about? Somebody was always making for him coffee. He never made coffee. What are you talking about? There's different approaches, Some chachamim have this kind of approach. Some chachamim that kind, right? That's the way it is, But the truth is, Maran, was on the level. They say also, that one time they asked Maran, we see, when you come out of the bathroom, you don't use kos, to wash your hands. You wash without the kos. So they said, why do you do that? You don't use kos, but Ben Ish Chai says you have to use kos. You don't want to do it like that? So you know what he told them, right? He answered them like this, Maran. He says, anything which causes bitul Torah, any chumrah, we don't do any chumrah which causes bitul Torah. So for him, that few seconds was bitul Torah, 3-4 seconds, to wash his hands. That's the rule, that we learn, Masoret, from the great rabbis. Maran Rabbi Bashaw. They said any chumrah which makes bitul Torah, meaning what takes extra time, we don't do any chumrah like that. Why is that? Because bitul Torah can get kulam. Bitul Torah is more important than any chumrah. Talmud Torah can get kulam. Bitul Torah can get kulam. That's why Maran didn't want to do chumrah like that. That's the whole thing. Anyway, so that's the idea, right? So that's the way it is. Another question I want to tell you. We have a little bit more time. Question is asked like this: is a woman allowed to go into the mikveh? When she goes every month, right? Every month she goes to the mikveh until she gets old, becomes a granny, right? When she becomes a granny, she doesn't need to go anymore. That's it, right? But if she's young, she's still having periods, every month. She has to go every month to the mikveh. If she's married, of course, right? I'm talking about. So the question is she allowed to go with nail polish, or is this chatzitza? Is it interposition between the water and the body, right? Because the truth is the whole body has to go into the water, right? And that cannot be chatzitza, anything interposing. So maybe the nail polish is chatzitza. This is the question that people ask, many times, because there are some ladies, they're like moderny, and they like to do nail polish, they like to look fancy, and all that, right? So they like to do nail polish, so if you tell them, this is the problem, you see. If you tell them, if you don't take off your nail polish, I won't let you in the mikveh. They won't come to the mikveh at all, And then they're going to have b'nei nidah, right? They're going to have children who are b'nei nidah because of this, So you can't be too rough with them like that. If it's kosher, it's kosher. So here's the thing, right? It says in Shulchan Aruch like this, right? Laws of Tevilah, and you're there. It says over there that if a woman, right, colors her hands with some kind of a dye, she can go into the mikveh like that with the color. This is what it says. What's the reason why? What's the reason? So the answer is because she likes it, she wants to have it. You know what I mean? She wants to have it all the time on her hands. So whatever she wants to have, the rule is like this, whatever that you're not makpid, and you want that on your body, it's not chatzitza. So therefore, says Shulchan Aruch, kosher. I'm sorry?
About the ring.
Oh, ring is good. Good question, right? So here's the thing, right? With the ring, he's asking a good question. My friend, your first name is? I forgot. Levi, right. So, tell you, right, with the ring, there's a little bit of a problem, because the poskim say that when she needs the dough, she'll take off the ring, She doesn't want to need the dough with the ring. So she's makpid a little bit on the ring, It's not exactly the same thing. But when it comes to nail polish, You understand? What is she going to do? Take it off when she makes challah? No, right? Obviously, she's not going to do that. Right? So she's not makpid. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can she go with tattoos?
With what?
Tattoos.
What is that?
Tattoos.
Ah, tattoos. So the answer is yes. You know why? Because she wants it like that. I mean, and it's permanent on her body. So.
Are you allowed?
Yeah. What, are you allowed to make a tattoo? No, lechatchila, we don't allow you to make tattoo. But let's say she did tattoos, and then she became Baal Tshuva. You know what I mean? She did teshuvah. So she has tattoos on her body. What can you do, So what? She can't go to the mikveh? Of course she can go to the mikveh. There's not chatzitza. Because it's a part of her body already, it's permanent. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with that. There's no issue.
What's the problem with the nail polish?
I didn't say there was a problem. I'm still in the question phase. I'm not in the answer phase yet. So here's the thing, right? It says in Shulchan Aruch that if she has something on her hands and she likes it, she doesn't want to remove that, so she can keep it. So therefore, really, the truth is, according to this, nail polish should be okay. That's the answer, there should be no problem. But here's the thing, right? It gets a little bit complicated though sometimes. Why? Because sometimes what happens is, it always happens like this. She puts on nail polish, and then, a couple of weeks gets cracked. You know what I mean, right? It's not full anymore. It starts to come off, chip off a little bit. Chip, gets cracked off. So now the question is it still kosher now? Because maybe she doesn't want this anymore, She wants to take it off. You know what I mean? It doesn't look nice anymore. This is the question, you understand? So the truth is, that Maran Rabbi Shalom, in his book, Talat Habayit, Chelek Gimel, he talks about this over there. So he says, if there's a little bit cracks over there, she can still go, into the mikveh with the nail polish. Why? Because it doesn't mean necessarily, she wants to take it off just because there's a little bit cracks there, a little bit there. She still wants it. It's okay. But now we're getting into a different level, which is now, let's say, there's like those little thin cracks, but then there's something like, a chip, comes off, like a little chunk comes off there, What about that? Does she want that too? Right? So there, the rabbi says, Maran in Chalichot Olam, he says over there, if she has like that, they're chipped off already, like, sizable amount came off, Lichora, now we're concerned she doesn't want that anymore. It doesn't look nice, it looks ugly. You know what I mean? So therefore, it says Maran over there that she should try to take it off, or repaint it, right? Fill it up, or take it off, because the way it is now, she doesn't want that over there. So it's going to be chatzitza, That's the thing. He says take it off, but he doesn't say bediavad. You know what I mean? Bediavad, that it's not kosher. The tefillah. He says lechatchila she should take it off.
About stuff like that.
You go to the mikveh, you want to be kosher, right? If you didn't do kosher tefillah, so your mikveh was nothing, right? Just like you went to the bathtub, you went to a jacuzzi, you know what I mean? It's nothing.
Nobody tells you how to go to the mikveh.
You have to, the mikveh lady's watching you there. She's gonna be looking at you. What's going? What you got there? What is this? Up, come out, up. She's gonna penalize you. The mikveh lady, you know what I mean? That's the way it is. Yeah,
Are we allowed to make tattoos or not?
The chatchila, you should not make tattoos.
What's lechatchila?
In other words, if you have a choice, right, to make tattoos now, you're a religious guy, right? Don't do it. But bediavad, if you already did it, right, bediavad, then you can still live. We're not going to kill you because of that. We're not going to assassinate you. You know what I mean? By the way, the Ashkenazim, they're very machmir about tattoos. You know what they do? The Chevra Kadisha, if somebody dies, right, and they find on the body tattoos, you know what they do? They remove it before the burial. They don't bury him like that. Unbelievable. They don't allow it. We Sfaradim, we're not so makpid about the tattoo, like they are. They're very makpid, even bediavad, Before the burial, they have to remove it. There's a way to remove them, there is a way. It's a little bit complicated, but takes some time, a few hours, whatever, I don't know, God knows, whatever it is, but they do remove them. Okay, whatever, right? That's an interesting thing. So therefore, right, now the question is like this, right? I'll finish with this. I don't want to take too long. What about netilat yadayim? Right? You know, the rule is like this, right? It says in Shulchan Aruch, the rules for chatzitza and netilat yadayim is the same as the mikveh. Same rules. Meaning what? Just like you can't go into the mikveh with a ring, also you shouldn't wash your hands, with a ring, netilat yadayim. Same thing.
So you have to get out and put it in, take it out, put it in.
Yeah, we got to remove the ring before you wash your hands. So, here's the thing, right? If that's the case, same thing, applies. All that we said about nail polish would apply also, same thing with the washing the hands as well. Same idea. But there's one difference, right? I'll explain to you and we'll finish here. 2 minutes. Interesting thing is like this, right? That from the Torah, if most of the body, right, there's no chatzitza, it's kosher, the tefillah, But the rabbis made a tikkun, to decree, right, takana, that even if it's a minority, if you're makpid, you shouldn't have it. It's a rabbinical, this rule. So this is what I told you, right? But the nail polish, it's only from the rabbis. From the Torah, the tefillah is kosher like that. Right? Even if it's not in good shape. But what I'm saying is like this, right? When it comes to netilat yadayim, it's always the Rabbanan. It's always from the rabbis. It's not from the Torah, right? Netilat yadayim. It was decreed by the rabbis, netilat yadayim. So therefore, we can be a little bit more lenient, So if a woman has nail polish, even if there's some chunks missing there, since it's a machloket, it's a safek, when it comes to this kind of thing, it's the Rabbanan. So therefore, they can wash their hands like that. We don't tell them, go now and remove your nail polish before you wash your hands. We're not going to tell them that, right? That's okay. They can stay like that. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen, amen. רבי חנן, כשאומר, רץ הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות ישראל, לפיך הכי בעולם צום, שנים עד בן חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה בידי.